Hello and welcome to level 75 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, here with my two compadres. Of course, I have David.
What up?
And I have Cory. Okay, I'm very.
You see what I'm doing?
I see what you're doing. I'm very glad you added the pews because people listening would have no idea.
Well, yeah, I know. Do you want to tell them what I just did?
He just made a gun gesture, very violent, and then went pew 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 pew.
I was sending you guys lots of love, respect, and blessings throughout this next week because I respect you too and I like you too. So those were pew pews of generosity and kindness.
Sure they were.
Are you sucking up to me already?
Hey, David.
Hey. How you doing?
And reminded him of his previous strat that worked so well until he finished in last place twice in a row.
Call me country music because today I'm pandering.
Yeah, it is a very pandering music genre.
Okay.
But ladies and gentlemen, chickens, ducks, and hens, we're glad that you're joining us for this level of the pod. It is level 75. That means that we're at the average lifespan of a person, I believe, is 75.
It's mid-70s somewhere.
Mid-70s, yeah.
In Japan, we'd have a few more years.
That may be true.
They live to 80s, I think.
Yeah, but if you heard about there's an interesting concept with Japan that maybe I'll get to another time. I don't know if it's appropriate for this level of the podcast. But it's very interesting. But yeah, we're glad that you joined us in this evening. Of course, this isn't just, any old average version of the episode or of this podcast. This is a PvP episode. That's right. Player versus player debate. Who will come out on top? Who will make the most sense? Who will pander the best? PvP could stand for pander versus pander.
Yeah. That's how you treat these things.
No, it's definitely not. But for this rendition of PvP, the judge, well, that's, of course, it's the lovable, it's the cuddleable David.
This is true.
Oh, come here, big guy.
I got both of you guys coming for me. I like it.
David, it is yours to take away.
All right. Well, per usual, we got the four and a mystery.
Yes.
And I'm going to switch up a bit. Instead of going in the order I put them in, let's start with this one, guys.
All right.
Is the industry too saturated? Why or why not? Who wants to start?
I want to start on all of these questions, but it's random. So Jeremy, you can choose first. You can pick your destiny, all right?
How about you take this one first?
All right, I'll take this one. David, it is extremely oversaturated. This is ridiculous, this industry. Like, back in the day, you would get a couple releases a week, and that was fine. You could kind of pick and choose which ones you like. Nowadays, you get dozens of games released every single week. And that would be fine if all of them were unique and they were getting something different from each of these games, but you're not in a lot of times. Some examples I can give you. Only Up, a very popular Twitch game that just came out, a month and a half ago? How many Only Up clones are there now? I don't know, but there's a lot. I see them all over my YouTube. This Only Up. Vampire Survivor, a game that we all very much enjoy. Yeah. Oversaturated with clones of it, Survivor.io, and there's multiple other ones. But this is the one that really gets me. And in every genre, you see this oversaturation. Farming sims. Every Direct, every PlayStation, showcase, every Xbox showcase, we get so many farming sims every single time. And I just went on Steam and I typed in farming sim, which in my opinion is kind of a very specific sort of like tag. I'm not typing in action. I'm not typing in RPG. I'm typing in farming sim. How many games pop up? 1,733 results for that. Like, that is too much. We already have the GOAT farming sim. We have Stardew Valley. Like, there's room for 4 or 5 other ones. You know, everyone gets a little piece of the cake that they like. If you want Graveyard Keeper with a little bit of horror, yeah, sure. But no, we don't need upwards of 1,500 of a same type of game. It's insane how much we get, especially the industry as a whole copies other successful things. And it's not good for the consumer because that hides the very good products from actually being seen.
All right, I'm gonna give you 2 points for that. One for saying things well, and another one for I was looking for the cloning that you discussed.
Yeah. Okay.
So okay.
If you're looking for cloning, just wait till Jeremy clones my answer.
Oh God.
So here's what I'm gonna do. Because I'm brave.
No,
I'm going to take the opposite perspective, though I disagree with it. I am going to convert you, David, and myself towards it. Is the game industry oversaturated? No. Because what you have going on here is mostly just a legacy issue. You want to know why those other games may have seemed like, hey, we just had 4 or 5 releases, whatever, yada, yada, yada. It's because games console generations were shorter and you didn't have backward compatibility. And PC gaming wasn't something that was the monster that it is now, right? So you'd have a new console come out every 3 to 4 years, and those games on the previous console would die. But if we were to tabulate all the releases within the same genre from a previous generation to a previous generation to now, it would look the same. The other thing I want to mention, right, is that the industry has grown bigger, and with it has become the use of media and exposure. Part of the reason it seems oversaturated is because gaming news is now 24/7, and we hear about these releases all the time. So therefore, it feels like it's way more oversaturated than it used to be when it's nearly just the same. Instead of you having, nowadays you've got, 3 or 4 people working cross network to try to make a nice little indie game. Back then you had 2 dudes in a hat doing it, right? I mean, it's all the same kind of thing. It's just we hear about it more. We're exposed to it more, right? That's the difference. I mean, I would also say that part of what we're doing here makes it seem like the games industry is more oversaturated because we're just exposed to games more. We seek them out more. You know what I'm saying? Like Cory talked about Vampire.io or Vampire Survivors and Survivor.io being a perfect example of the clones. Yeah, are there clones? Sure. But guess what? 80% of those clones are going to die, and you're not even going to be able to access them in a year or 2 from now, right? It's kind of the same thing, but the same thing happened before in older game generations. There were clones, except again, it was 2 guys making it in a hat. They sent it to Sega, they sent it to Nintendo. They said, no, thank you, you can't get on a platform. And they just died there. Or they were on a previous gen, and when the new gen came out, the whole mechanism of technology, being able to, port it to a new system or something like that just didn't exist. So the game went away. But I would contend that gaming now, though development of games is more accessible than before, I don't really believe it's as oversaturated as we think it is.
Very nice. I'm giving you a point because I was looking for how more accessible creating games is, because I stated that on a few levels ago, I think.
Right.
And another point for good.
Oh,
good
2
reasons.
points?
Well, I mean, a point and a point.
Oh, 2 points. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Jeremy, I hate to disagree with you, and I got to come back with stats, which David loves stats. You say it's not oversaturated. We're doing just as much as we did beforehand as now. We're just more information. We're seeing it more. No, that's definitely not the case. David, let's ask you a question. What do you think is a good number of games to come out in a year? I'll point out, and you tell me if this is a good number. In 2015, there was 2,829 Steam releases. Lots of games.
Yeah.
Lots of games. That's more than anyone can possibly play in a year, right? Way more than anyone can play in a year. 2022, there was 12,680 games. I rest my case. It is way oversaturated. There is no way that you can even funnel through that amount of games to try to pick those good ones. We talk about loving indies. These indies are just being put to the side as soon as they come out because they're in a group with 10, 12, 20, 100 other games during that week. It's impossible to have these great games really stand out as much as they should. 12,680 games. I will repeat that in 2022. We're at 8,410 so far this year. So it looks like it's going to be just as much, or if not more. That's too many, and that is oversaturated.
Yeah, definitely give you a point for that, because you didn't let me answer. I don't know if it was rhetorical or not, but I was going to say like 300-400. So.
Oh, good. I was worried you would say. I don't know what you were going to say. I was worried you'd be like, yeah, 15 grand, and my whole point would have. I was going to stop you before you could. I was going to let the numbers speak for themselves. So.
Right. Anything to rebuttal with that, Jeremy?
Yeah, I would ask if he could provide this supplemental information, which of course he won't, because it goes against his argument, as to how many people were noted as being active video game players in 2015 versus 2022 or 2023. Because for my own statistics, according to the latest data, there are approximately 3.09 billion people in the world who have or identify as being video gamers. So your 12,000 releases in a sea of 3 billion possible or potential customers, that doesn't seem as oversaturating as you would believe it to be.
Fair, but video games aren't like a tangible product that goes away. Like, hey, there's 10 billion people on the planet. We only made 8 billion apples. Not everyone's going to get an apple. If there's 10 billion gamers, everyone can still play the best games. There's no rule saying that only half those people can play the best game. You don't need to make that many games. There's just not enough good games. There's too many bad games coming out along with the good games.
But
gamers don't want that.
There's always been too many bad games coming out with good games. That's always been an issue.
Well, in 2015, there was only 2,000. So if half those were good and half those were bad, that means there was 1,000 bad games. Now, if that continues, we're looking at 6,000 bad games, and those clog up your store pages. You can't tell me that you've gone on Nintendo Switch or the PlayStation or the Xbox store and you've looked up new releases and it's just trash, 99-cent games, $4.99 games, just shovelware. Shovelware has always been a thing, and it hurts the industry. But now it's just clogging them up, man. It's clogging them up.
Right. I would contend that how many of those video games actually become something of which has merit or any kind of influence on gamers being able to secure the type of game they want or the type of games that they would look for, anywhere else. I mean, yeah, they're there. They take up some space, but, again, we have this whole kind of capitalist Darwinistic take on it. And eventually, though those games exist and they do take up some digital space, in regards to how much space they're taking up effectively as a video game and as releases, it just doesn't compute to being the same.
Fair, but like oversaturation isn't about people necessarily buying the product. It's the product being out there in the first place. And that was David's question. Are we oversaturated? Yes, there's too much product and not enough of it's good.
I would contend the opposite. I believe
you've contended for a couple minutes now.
I believe it's the exact opposite. There isn't too much oversaturation, and I think just an increase of media exposure and a growth of the industry to begin with, contributes to the appearance of oversaturation, especially when you compare to the increase of video gamers and people that actually play games now compared to 10 or 12 years ago.
No matter how much you contend, he's not going to give you that extra point.
It's very good, but we'll move on. We'll move on. I was looking for, I would have gave one of you guys another point if you guys mentioned genres, because that really narrows down as well, because if I only play RPGs, is there a huge oversaturation or not of RPGs,
I mentioned farming sims.
Oh, I know, that was good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. What hobby would you be more interested in if they had stats to follow, like video games? I thought this was a really good one.
This is what I wanted to go first. All right, Jeremy, take it, man.
Hobbies that I would follow if it had stats, like video games. I think one that I would perhaps follow more. Man, I mean, technically it has stats, but kind of not really. I would say maybe a hobby, and here's the thing. I'm going to say this, and I don't want any weird looks from Cory because he's going to give them. Okay? A hobby I would say would be cool for stats, I would say, is probably fishing. And here's why. Part of the whole glory of fishing, you get a big fish, right? It's a trophy fish. You hold it up, you got the size. But I think what would really be interesting is like, a lot of those things get away. I think it'd be cool to have something, a metric of like, hey, like, how many bites or nibbles did you get in a certain area, right? Like, what was the species type? What was the stat of that? How were you able? What kind of, what was your succession rate of using this kit or this setup versus this other kit and this other setup, right? Because there's some general rules of what you may use for like a body of, like say the ocean versus the lake, right? But if you're going after a specific fish or if you're going in a specific area, there's obviously things that may work more than the other. And having a way to track those things would just allow more context and more information for if I want to go do this specific, this specific thing, I want to catch this specific fish. I know this is the setup I need to have in order to have the most success, right? And then also just being able to track like, hey, how many people have fished this area this year versus another area? What are the numbers for this type of fish here versus over here? I think it all would make it a lot easier for you to figure out, what you want to go, what you want to do, and it would just make it more fun. You could have a score of, hey, you know what? I caught a fish. I caught 6 fishes. Oh, well, I caught one, but it's the biggest fish ever. Okay, but what does that really mean? This person was more consistent. You took the same amount of time and got maybe one bigger fish. But I mean, who's the best angler? Who's got it going? I think adding stats and numbers to that and giving more context from an analytical standpoint would just make it more interesting. Because it's kind of boring to just say, well, I got a fish or I didn't get a fish. And that's where it ends. If you add in a little bit of that color, you can say, oh, okay, it feels more like it's a competition.
Well done. I like that. I'm giving you 2 points for that. I just, with so many statistics that you brought up and could use, there is so many things that could be different in fishing. Yeah. I've never thought about that.
I really want to like talk about the pick that you just had, but I'm going to stick with my own. I feel like your pick wasn't that great. Anyways, a hobby that I would be interested in doing more, doing at all actually, because I don't do it anymore, but I used to when I was younger, that I think that if it had stats, I would definitely be all into it, is playing music. Now, music, everybody loves music. Music is great. I was in band in elementary school, and I really enjoyed it. I played the trombone. It was fun. But it lacks something for me. I couldn't really gauge how well I was improving or not. And I feel like adding stats to that, notes hit versus notes missed, almost like a Guitar Hero. If they had like Guitar Hero type things for actual instruments, I feel like that'd be a huge incentive for me to want to continue like a musical, development. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And obviously it would work for a lot of other stuff, keyboard. I know that Ubisoft actually does do something with like Rocksmith, where they let you play the guitar and actually learn that way. And, by the time that came out, I was a little too old to kind of want to learn an instrument. But music is definitely the one where I'm like, if it had stats, if it had rankings, if it had, you versus this person, I think I would like it a lot more. And I probably would have continued doing it.
Okay, I'm giving you a point for that one. Just one. Like you said, Rocksmith kind of already exists, but it's only for one instrument. And I liked what you chose because that would be really cool. Maybe a statistic to be like how many songs you have perfected that how many instruments that you can play one song of, et cetera, et cetera. Like that was a good choice.
And if I could just go against Jeremy's real quick.
Okay.
Fishing is already a professional sport. So there is already a place for you to get those stats if you do that hobby long enough. Like you can understand those stats. And I have to think you have to get a license for fishing. Like they have statistics. The DNR, they have statistics of the fish that are in this place or the fish that are and how many caught per year. There's a lot of stats for fishing already. So for you to pick that, it seems like you were picking something that's already a big statistic, hobby. But hey, I'm ready to move on if you are.
Well, if I can therefore respond to Cory's ridiculous assertion of music. One thing, it appears that at least for a specific instrument that already exists, right?
As I and David pointed out.
Right.
I played trombone. There was no
right.
trombone hero.
There was no, I think for good reason, right? And
Probably.
then I mean, like, second of all, you're saying like there's already stuff that exists to help indicate like what you're doing to fish or be better fishing or whatever. There's also a mechanism that already exists for music. It's called your bleeping ears. Right?
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah,
you can hear, like, you can hear when you miss the note, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if you've heard of a notepad and pen, Jeremy, but you can bring that out next time you go fishing. Mark it yourself.
Well, I can't measure exact things like what was the pressure of the bite, how long was the drag, different things like that, right? That's offhand things that also affect the nuance of fishing, right? But you know, you can dictate how long you hold a string on a guitar and strum it. I mean, you're doing that intuitively. There's no other nuance. There's no barrier of getting that information besides you just being in tune in the moment and just listening and using your ears, buddy.
Then why did Ubisoft make the game if it's already something you can do with your ears? They saw a need for it and they made it. I'm just asking for every other instrument. I'm asking for every other instrument to have it too. I'm asking for stats.
They didn't make it for other instruments because it's a terrible idea, because they're like, people have ears, right? So they saw there's a need for this, really.
Okay. I think that's a good rebuttals. We can move on to the next one.
All right.
Fair. Come on, David. Give me the one. Give me the one I need
that
here.
one. I think
so afraid Jeremy's going to steal my answer.
Okay, so I think this is the one you want. We've seen games try to replicate Pokemon Go. You know, the Harry Potter one. There was another one. I can't remember what it was. And they just don't do as well. Do you guys think there's a game that can come along and stand on its own? Maybe not be as good or as played as Pokemon Go, but stays around for more than a couple months?
If I'm being 100% honest with you, David, I don't think there is, because what Pokemon did, it's the biggest media franchise in the entire world, right? We've already seen that statistic. It has a built-in kind of like game mechanism that really works well for walking around and interacting with other people, the catching of the Pokemon. And there's like 900 different Pokemon, or over 1,000 at this point. So they had plenty of material to work with. All those things point to Pokemon being a success for this. So any other game that tries to replicate it is going to have a really hard time. But if I could just try to point to one genre, and I guess I'll do a specific game as well that I think could, if done properly, you know, I'm not pandering, but I am pandering. But I'm not pandering. The battle royale genre. Take Apex or Fortnite. Fortnite's the more popular one. But I can see a situation where you're using your phone to go to locations where there are item drops or there are chests, and that incentivizes you to walk there and meet other people. And my idea was like, it's done by a weekly basis. So you're playing this game on a weekly basis, and that entire week you're trying to go out, walk, get your gear, get your health potion, get your items, and the whole week is built up for this final confrontation, say like once every Saturday afternoon, you know, worldwide or like regional. And then you see what your items are and how much you've walked, and statistically, you know, how much items you've got, and you kind of have a battle royal, and there's one winner chicken dinner out of that. And I think Fortnite would be great for it. Obviously, Apex. Just you can also do it where sometimes you get costumes or you get skins for guns and stuff. And I think it would be a really cool game, especially since it's such a popular genre, to really go out there and have people walk and kind of play it in the AR space.
Okay, I'm going to give you a point for that.
I like it. Yes, I do think something that could, emerge to compete with Pokemon Go. But I'm going to go in a slightly different direction here with a different franchise, and you hear me out when I kind of like offer it. I think you do something, you tie it into a theme of an IP, right? So Cory mentioned Fortnite, right? I think you go Jurassic Park / Jurassic World. You make it that people can go, they can find dinosaurs, these different types of dinosaurs. There's rarity. I mean, think for a second, right? I think this would be really popular with parents that want to be able to teach their kids about dinosaurs and prehistoric animals. I mean, think of the anticipation and the hype that you and your kid are maybe going around. You're like, hey, there's something around the corner, and you chase it. It's super rare, and you find a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex. I mean, that would be absolutely awesome, right? You'd have certain things where maybe when you meet, certain animals, you get into a specific engagement. So maybe I think this is going to be a cute little, baby brontosaurus. Nope. You accidentally walked in on a velociraptor eating the carcass of a baby brontosaurus. And now it wants you for dinner. You got to play the game in order to escape the velociraptor, kind of like, like they did in the movies and different stuff like that. I think something like that would be way more interesting because you're locking into an existing IP that's super huge. You're locking into a subject matter that's always been something that's captivated like kids and like younger people, right? And you can just build on top of it and just offers a lot of opportunities to do those things. I mean, granted, you could do a Fortnite theme thing, but can you do Fortnite stuff in AR? I mean, you can to some extent, but if you want to play Fortnite, you just go play Fortnite. You know what I'm saying? But being able to actually encounter a dinosaur in real life, so to speak, I think would be a very unique experience.
David, before you give any points, please, before you give any points, can you just take that back for a second?
Okay.
That is such a good idea, Jeremy, that it came out 5 years ago. It's already a thing. It's called Jurassic World Alive. It's an augmented AR reality, just like Pokemon Go. It's already out. You talked about Ubisoft and the Guitar Hero thing. It's already out. They already made that, Jeremy. It's a complete
they ain't doing
thing.
the same, though.
Look it up. Look it up. They did. It's an AR. You go around. It's Jurassic World Alive. It's already been out since March 14th, 2018.
Yeah, but it's not the same, though.
You added absolutely nothing to this conversation. Thank you. Good day. Nothing. It's already out.
But it's a different. It's not a completely same thing.
You know what I could have did? Hey, Dave, you know what a good game for Pokemon Go would be? Pokemon. That's just what you did. You added nothing.
Adding nothing.
You can.
Adding nothing is still more than saying, "Hey, let's do an AR about an IP where that's a video game where you do all the things you would want to do with the IP in the video game." What am I doing AR Fortnite for? I can't build forts in AR.
That's a good idea. Yeah, you could.
No, you could
also collect material and build like a little home base.
What?
That's a good idea. Thank you.
To do what? Or I can do that in the actual game, where it's used to win the actual matches.
Jeremy, I know it's embarrassing, but you just literally copied a game that's already been out for 5 years. So
I do.
No, it's slightly different.
Yes.
Is that game still up?
I believe so. Let's see. Can I download it? Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like it's still up. They have over 100 dinosaurs with more expected in regular updates. It sounds like Jeremy's dream game that's already out. What do you mean? It's already out, Jeremy.
Despite it being out, I've never heard of it. Did you ever hear of it, Jeremy?
Nah.
No. I'll give the 1 point because it does replicate Pokemon Go anyway, and it has lasted more than a couple months.
That's he just picked a game that's out. That's like cheating.
If you knew about it.
Like if I would have said like Harry Potter would make a good AR game.
Well, I said that in my explanation. So
here's the question. We've seen games try to replicate Pokemon Go. Do you think there's a game that could come along and stand on its own? Technically, if it's copying what I just pitched, technically they have.
So your answer was yes. It doesn't even matter. It's just
you're pitching. Let's do an AR of a game IP where the game allows you to do everything that's relevant with the IP. That doesn't make any sense.
Just like Pokemon, where why catch Pokemon in AR where you can catch them on the game? Why battle? Like that's the point, is because having that fun game in an augmented reality.
Because the point of Pokemon is finding them and catching them. There's no point
of battle royals. Is finding gear.
So for one,
exploring the map.
Okay,
and
so then for one,
up.
I'm going to contend on you because you're saying battle royale, which is a genre, which is not a game. The question asks for a game, and then you chose Fortnite. So what is there that you're finding in Fortnite that you're therefore using to build your whatever gear and do whatever? Your gear to do what? And supplies to do what?
Once a week, they have the little you drop from the buses and everyone maybe meets at a designated spot, because Pokemon Go had like these Pokemon gyms, right? Where they would have these people meet up and fight the Pokemon gyms. It's the same thing. You gear up for this 1 week event where you're going there and you're all seeing, hey, with my gear, and maybe there's a little mini game, because I know Pokemon Go had battles where you swipe left and right, something like that. Maybe you do something similar in the Fortnite Go, where, hey, you got, an epic AR and you ran out of bullets, so you got to switch. Hopefully you were able to get enough weaponry throughout the week to be able to survive this. It would be more than 100, it'd be possibly thousands.
What if you don't do those?
If you don't play the game, then I guess if you don't play the game, you're not going to get the
What if
stuff.
you don't go to the meets? Pokemon Go has value in which you can just, the whole discovering and searching and finding itself is the main draw of the mechanic. Not everyone goes to these gyms. What if people don't want to go to these meets and do blah, 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 whatever, shoot each other? What's the value in finding these weapons and supplies then?
I mean, did David ask me to develop a game? No, he asked me for an IP.
Well, yeah.
I thought would be right. And apparently it was okay to pick an IP
that's an IP, right?
Yeah, and apparently it's already okay to pick an IP that already has a Pokemon Go ripoff. But hey, that's okay.
I think we're good. I think we can move on. That was a lot.
Okay.
Let's see. I did that one. I guess okay. Achievements. Did they add to games and their development, or did they hinder them?
Well, very fortunate and good job that I'm getting to answer first on this one. We can hear how many of my answers that Cory ends up stealing. I think achievements did a great job in the development of games, right? Because it gave us that one thing we were talking about before, something to track. It gave us a way to share our accomplishments, to share our stories, to share the things that we've been able to experience in these games, right? It gave us a kind of a glimpse into also what the developers find to be important, what the developers really valued about those games. Achievements obviously are for the player, but sometimes they actually, present us with, hey, the developers were really liking, hoping you access this secret area, or that you did this so many times so you can kind of, discover this secret part of the story, right? And we kind of get that knowledge, you've been able to do it. Before then, we had games, and yes, we had our stories, and we had our adventures and our conquests, and we'd have to, share them word of mouth. But being able to track and share our stories, and just being able to much more easily track progress, right? It can also come into a factor where you can kind of use achievements and the number of achievements to kind of give you a read of how much further you have to go in a game. And if you're someone that's time challenged, right, you can say that, okay, it seems like I've maybe hit a certain amount of achievements that would grant that I'm 50% done with the game, or 75% done with the game, or something like that, right? So yeah, I think achievements added to games way more than it hindered. It allowed them to create like really specific ways that a video gamer can interact with the game. It gives them a sense of inertia, momentum, and progress, and those are all great things you want in the game.
All right, I'm gonna give you a point for that. You made some good points. It does add, in a sense, to the games. If you only beat it once, but there's an achievement that says, hey, beat it with this or without this, and it gives them incentive to play the game more.
Jeremy's reading comprehension is horrible. Now, if we just look at the question, achievements, did they add to games and their development, or did they hinder them? Of course they added to games. We all know that. Jeremy, you did actually a pretty good argument of why they added to games. And that was all well and good, because they did. But David wanted to know both. Did they add to them, or did they hinder them? You didn't mention anything about the hindering, and they have hindered games a lot.
It was or did they?
They hindered them. That is my answer. There's a lot of good reasons why they hindered them. One, back in the day, especially during the beginning of achievements, there was a lot of online-only achievements. Not everyone plays online games. You get a group of gamers who, I think, like, they're very much completionists, a lot of gamers. They like to kind of, hey, we got to check every area. I got to do every quest. I got to collect every item. And when you get an achievement that's just not really plausible for a vast majority of people, say online, getting amount of kills or getting high on the leaderboards, it really sucks, because that's something in the game that you just cannot complete. And that's not fun to do. We see Nintendo, they don't have achievements. They let the game speak for themselves. Gamers should enjoy a game how they want to, not almost be never forced, but not look at a list of things and be like, man, I really got to play this game for another, 30, 40 hours if I want to get these achievements. And I'm not a big achievement hunter or trophy hunter for the PlayStation, but I have done that. And I will tell you, in some regards, it makes playing the game worse. I haven't platinumed a lot of stuff or got full achievements, but I have for Spider-Man. And by the end of it, it was like complete every side mission. And it was like, well, it's a fun game and I should do this, but it just, games should let you game how you want to. And it's okay to have a list. But I think for a lot of people, especially people that maybe have some sort of, OCD or something like that, it really is looked at as more of like this is stressful. And I see achievements as stressful. Or if you're playing a game and you don't get achievements at all, you're like, what am I doing wrong? I don't know. They're good. Jeremy brought up a lot of good points. I'm trying to argue the opposite side. In a lot of ways, they do hinder. And Nintendo's never seen the need for them, and Nintendo's doing just fine.
Point to Cory. I like it. I agree on your points as well. Is there any rebuttals? Any additions?
I did miss the or. I apologize for that.
It's perfectly fine. I think the other thing you missed is did they add to their development or hinder them? Now, everything you quoted here is how it affects the player experience of the game. Nothing about the developer side.
Well, I mean, what could they have possibly added to the development? You said, oh, the developer wants to point out this thing. So what did they do before achievements? Those things were just lost in the wind forever? No, they found ways to point stuff out. Yeah. I don't think, on the development side, the guys at Gears of War were like, oh, 52,000 kills in multiplayer. It was some outrageous number. They weren't trying to point to anything. Or in Dead Rising, kill every single zombie on the map, 100,000 zombies. It took 90 hours to do or 100 hours. Like, what were they pointing to? If you can point me to a specific point where the developers were like, hey, this achievement, it pointed to something. You don't even usually see the achievements until you get them. So that made no sense pointing to something. I don't see the achievements until I randomly get them. So.
Okay. I mean, I do think that they add value just in regards to like streamlining them. And like you mentioned, Nintendo's doing fine. In the advent of like achievements and different things like that, one of the main criticisms was that Nintendo's did not have an achievement type of mechanism, right? Xbox came out with achievements, PlayStation followed up with trophies. So obviously gamers were telling them that these things have value. I think now that you have other ways, streaming and Let's Plays and other ways to kind of share the stories of games and share your accomplishments of games, there may be less emphasis on it now or less importance, but they definitely had some effect. And I think they continue to, because, yeah, there's some ridiculous things out there. Like I think some of it's kind of tongue in cheek that they put those achievements out there. But some of them are actual, like, is the developer, you do a certain task or a certain objective in the game that requires you to pay attention. And the developer gives you those points as however impactful or important of a sign it is a sign or a gesture of appreciation that you were able to do or accomplish this in the game. So that's really all I have to add in regards to achievements adding to game development.
I mean, back in my day, achievements used to be you unlocked a new costume, you unlocked a new skin for your character. Where's that gone? They put the achievements in, they took the cool little extra bits like big head mode or stuff like that out.
You think that achievements just drove that and not the advent of like DLCs or being able to buy additional content?
They happened around the same time. Who am I to say?
I would say that I would say that causation isn't exactly correlation.
Well, Jeremy, you would say a lot of stuff, wouldn't you?
I guess that's supposed to be an insult, but yeah, I would say that stuff.
You guys could literally argue all day about any topic, and it's great.
Well, David,
even if you agree with each other.
You know what? I would say that there probably is a possibility where we would argue on something we agree about. I wouldn't put that past it. That feels
Are we on to the next topic?
We're on to the next one.
I mean, we just did argue on something we agreed upon, achievements.
Yeah,
they're definitely good.
Okay.
All right, number 5.
So the mystery question.
All right.
What game would be good in a different genre if made correctly?
This sounds like a question we could have.
This
used
is
extra
this is
time.
almost this is an existential question. Huh. Are we? We're choosing mostly like the ideas that we're choosing a game that doesn't already exist in another genre, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I already know Jeremy's answer. Mario would make a great kart racer.
For one, he's stalling, waiting for me to come up with an answer first.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I will. God, this is so hard.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. This is so tough on the spot.
I will.
I thought it was pretty fun.
No, it's fun. It's definitely a fun question.
It is fun. The other thing is, I don't. Does it just becomes a type of game that's almost kind of like it? That's the other thing I'm kind of concerned about. But I'll go. What the heck? I think that. Okay, whatever. I think that XCOM would work as a great shooter.
Dang, I thought that.
Yeah,
that was one of the games that crossed my mind.
It's a much more kind of like serious tone. I think even it's more serious than even something like a Halo, right? In regards to like dealing with fighting off an alien invasion. But yeah, I think that XCOM would make a very good first-person shooter. It's dark. The world has a lot of lore. There's a lot of urgency to it, so you feel like there's momentum behind what your character would be doing. The enemy types are super cool. I think carrying over a mechanic of being able to, if it has AI teammates, or if you're able to incorporate a squad based thing into the single player experience, I think bringing over the mechanic of being able to give them their country of origin and their skill set and actually name them would be really cool mechanics to bring over to make it even more personal. And therefore, when they're pinned down or they're hurt or they're bleeding out, it just makes it even more urgent for you to run over with a med pack and heal them or something like that. So I'm going to go with XCOM as an FPS.
Okay. And what kind of genre is it currently?
It's currently I guess, tactics game, you would say.
Okay.
Really, FPS and not third? I was thinking third, like Gears of War style, because you still can use the environment to kind of help you guard yourself. That's kind of like a big thing in XCOM.
Right. I would think of incorporating FPS. I was kind of thinking a little bit along of I forgot, Brothers at Arms type of thing. Incorporating that from a mechanical standpoint. But yeah, it could work as a third person, something like how Ghost Recon used to be, or what's the other, third person, something like that. You can work as that too.
Okay. I gave you 2 points for that.
Nice.
Good.
All right. So here's what I'm gonna do. All right, this is gonna impress both of you. Okay, so I'm gonna take Mario. How many different genres has Mario been in at this point? I think
quite a few.
Almost all of them. He's been in RPGs, sports games, platformers. He hasn't been in a Musou type game. And boy, would he be perfect for it. We've already seen the developers of Dynasty Warriors go with the Legend of Zelda as a Musou type game and Fire Emblem. So they have a good working relationship with Nintendo. And I think Mario would be the next really big, awesome one. You have many different characters in the Mario universe. And they all play different, as we see. Not all of them, but a lot of them play different, as we've seen from older games where Toad's usually quick, Luigi can jump high, Peach has the float. And another cool thing that they have that would work well in this genre is they have a ton of different power-ups between the Fire Flower, the Flying Suit, Superstar, just the mushrooms. So you have a lot of variety in those movesets, and that's what the Musou games are always like. Hey, we pick a character and he plays completely different, from this other character. Now, the actions are simple, like a heavy attack and a light attack, but they usually have different weapons that play differently. And I think the power-ups would do really well. And Mario already has a built-in enemy that has a lot of numbers to it. Everyone can envision the Mushroom Kingdom being filled with a million Goombas, a million Koopas, dry bones, piranha plants. It would be very colorful. It'd be very fun. It probably wouldn't be as serious as some of those other ones. but I could see a place where they take us through the different worlds, ice world, volcano world, sky world, and it would be a really good genre for Mario to be in, and he hasn't been in there yet. So that's my pick, Mario Mushu. And Jeremy would play it.
I'm gonna give you 3 for that because Mario has been in a lot of things, like you said, and to name one that they haven't been in, and to give good examples of how the game would be played out, as Jeremy did with his as well. It sounds pretty fun.
Thank you.
I would say that I would absolutely never play a Mario Mushu game. Never.
Oh.
I would never play Mario Mushu game.
You
But
probably don't want to
but to add to it, that is a genius idea.
Oh wow!
It is patently genius.
All right, that's
It's
your
a genius
next
idea.
Tweet Nintendo, man.
Yeah, well, it's in their ball. It's in their court now.
You tweet Nintendo. You tweet Koei Tecmo. You say make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I think that's it, fellas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like it's a pretty close game.
Yeah.
With Jeremy, we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 8 points.
Alrighty.
And with Cory, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 points.
What? He only had one good answer.
They were all good, just as yours were as well.
Nah, just the last one.
Just the one that you liked as well. I gotta be non-biased here, man.
Alrighty.
Good, like seriously, you guys can go back and forth so easily.
I just wish Jeremy could keep up with me a little better. You know what I'm saying?
He does. I can't keep up with you guys. You both keep up with each other very well.
I mean, it's mostly just the last question that
that's the thing that would be every single time.
That you guys were tied until the last question.
Tied.
See, I should have.
You should have made me go first.
Yeah,
you should have made me go first.
Exactly.
I had nothing until about halfway through your answer.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Yes. Yeah. Every time Jeremy loses one of these, a little piece of his soul goes fluttering off into the distance. Like
I'll be back. I'll be back and stronger than ever.
And then the best part is David throws it back to Jeremy to have to close it. This is my favorite part. Go on, Jeremy.
This is my sharpest
in his voice.
This isn't my sharpest performance.
Yeah, no kidding. You picked a game that already exists, but
it stands the test of time. It still exists. Okay.
Neither of you have heard of it, but it stands the test of time.
To be honest.
It stands the test of time. You know, it's like the leaning tower of I don't know, Muskegon. You never hear about it, but it's there.
Oh, okay.
Wait, is there one?
No, there isn't.
No, there isn't.
Well, I guess that brings us to the end where we do final thoughts. With Cory being the unfortunate victor of this episode, he gets to give his final thought first.
I mean, I just want to stay humble. It's hard when you beat Jeremy as much as you do, because Jeremy takes himself as an intellect. And I can tell you guys the truth right now. Jeremy is an intellect. So for him to lose to he would consider me like a country bumpkin, I know how bad it hurts. And David, I just want to say, out of every judge that we've ever had, including myself, because I judged as well, you are the most fair. And I just appreciate it. You don't let biases play in the factors like, hey, did I pick music because I know you like music? Yeah, I picked music because I know you like music. You only gave me 1 point for it. I thought that was going to be like a 4-point answer. So don't pander. It doesn't work all the time, especially against David. Now, if this was Josh in here, pander all day. If it's Cody, you pander all day. But David, you can't have that happen.
I would actually assert the opposite if it's Cody. I don't think you have to pander because Cody will just not let you win.
You just have to be not Cory.
I just have to be
Cory, and exactly. You can win with Cody.
You just have to be not Cory.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's my final thought.
Cody can't wait to have you back. Let's see. David, you want to offer a final thought, or you want me to offer one?
Sure, I will go.
Okay.
So, I absolutely love peanut butter. Okay, it's my favorite snack. The problem is, Jif is my favorite, but they use all the vegetable oils and stuff. It's just not good for you. I get peanut butter's not the best food for you to begin with, but it could at least be a little healthier if they used like extra virgin olive oil instead. I get it's more expensive, but they are a multi-million-dollar brand. Okay, can you make a peanut butter that is the extra virgin olive oil? If it's an extra $1 per canister, I don't care. I'll buy that one instead, because I get the Smucker's like natural, where it's just let's see, where is it? Peanuts and salt. That's great. It tastes fine, but it's not as smooth, and the oils separate, stuff like that. So I just need the olive oil, Jif peanut butter, please.
David, you're pretty good cooking wise. Like I've seen your TikToks where you're able to cook, right? I seen a TikTok of someone making peanut butter and it looked amazing. Like maybe you should do that. It looked so good. I couldn't believe it.
Why didn't you send that to me?
I should have. Oh man, it was, and they added like, I don't know if you like spicy stuff, but they added like some sort of spice in there. Pepper flakes, red pepper flakes and stuff. It looked amazing. I'm gonna try to find it for you.
That sounds so good.
David, have you ever made, I'm assuming you've made yourself this before. Have you ever made yourself a peanut butter and bacon sandwich?
I haven't.
Well, you got to do that because you like bacon, right?
I love bacon.
Yeah, I think one time we recorded, we asked what you had for dinner, and you literally said bacon, and you didn't add anything else. You just said bacon.
I just grilled up some bacon.
Yeah, I think you put bacon, you put PB, you put some PB there. You got a good mix of something.
I'll definitely remember that. But it's also like I love bananas, but I can't eat bananas and peanut butter together. It doesn't taste good to me, which is weird.
Yeah.
But I will remember that and try it the next time I make bacon.
Nice.
What's your final thought?
My final thought is, I didn't really have one until you mentioned that. I guess my final thought is, recently I've been thinking a lot about a sandwich that one of my childhood friends' mother would make him for lunch. And it was a sandwich that was jelly, grape jelly, bacon, and mayonnaise. And it was put all together, and it slapped every time it slapped.
Really?
It slapped. Yeah.
Are you gonna make this now and try it as an adult?
Yeah. Because now, even as an adult, I know about foods and stuff now as an adult.
Yeah,
so I can choose.
You make very good food.
Well, thank you. I can choose the jelly I want. I can choose the bacon I want. And I can choose the mayo I want. Right? Now, I'm a Hellman's person. I've mostly been getting a lot of Hellman's mayo.
For sure.
But I've been hearing about Duke's. And I'm ready to try some Duke's mayo.
Never heard of it.
So I'm going to grab some Duke's mayo.
Okay.
I'm going to grab some Smucker's grape jelly. And I'm going to grab some thick cut Amish bacon.
That's the kind I get. Thick cut.
And
so good.
And I'm gonna figure out if I was on crack as a kid or if this thing still slaps. Because I have no idea. It's been so long that I've had it, and it's such a weird combination. I'm also not sure if I just dreamt it up. But I think I do remember getting it quite a few times from them. I would switch them. I'd say, hey, I'll trade you my Lunchable for your, jelly, bacon, and mayo sandwich. And sometimes he'd be like, no, I want to eat it. And I'm like, you're weird, dude. Who eats a sandwich like that?
You're weird for eating the sandwich I want to eat.
Exactly. Now, that brings us to the end, though, of level 75 of the Thoughts and Players podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to like and follow the pod on all the socials. We are on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Thoughts and Players. We are on Instagram at thoughts.players. We are on TikTok. We are on Twitter. We're on Threads too, which is like an Instagram extension. I think I did one or two posts. It feels very weird over there. I'm not liking the vibe. And then obviously we're on YouTube. We upload video versions of the podcast. Also, you can follow the podcast on your preferred podcast service, Apple, Google, Spotify. We're all there. And last but not least, we have a Patreon. If you're digging your boys and you want to support, hop on over, check it out. We got 3 tiers, $2, $5, $7, each with a good bit of goodies. By the time this episode is out, patrons will have received a review of Inside. That is right. The Inside review
finally?
is finally here and
Let's
out.
go.
We get to talk about what is one of my favorite games.
Wow.
It's turned into. I should do a review of Wildermyth, but that thing could be 73 hours. But that is it for me. Fellas, is there anything else you want to say?
Peace.
Nope. Goodbye.
Alrighty. Well, then we will catch you on the next level.